I thought I was a pure person. Turns out I was only protected by a pure environment, until life placed me into a murky river. Once upon a time, there was a stream so clear, so pristine, that the fish swimming in it wasn't even aware of the water. There was no murkiness, no resistance, no test that could stir what was inside. And in that state, the fish quietly made a judgment about itself. I am pure. But that wasn't truth. It was comfort. One day the stream dried up. Outwardly it looked like a loss. But inwardly, it was a call. The fish was carried against its will into a vast river. There the water was no longer clear. There the current was no longer gentle. And for the first time, the outside world began to touch its inner world. The fish saw the murkiness, but what it really saw was the murkiness within itself. It grew frustrated. Why is this water like this? Why do I feel this way? But the question didn't belong to the outside. It belonged within. Because when the water changed, what surfaced wasn't the nature of the water. It was the nature of the fish. And in that moment, a painful realization was born. I am not pure. I was only protected. That was the moment the journey began. The fish was no longer between two waters. It was between two truths. Either surrender to the murkiness outside, or search for clarity within. And for the first time in its life, it encountered something new: choice. Because the purity it once had was given to it. Now, it had to choose it. Time passed. The river didn't change. The water didn't become clearer. But the fish changed. It stopped trying to fix the outside and started building the inside. Because it understood something deeply. What corrupts a person is not the darkness outside, but the absence of a light within to resist it. And one day a truth settled in its heart. To remain pure is not about living in a pure place. To remain pure is to choose purity for the sake of God, even when impurity is possible. That fish was no longer who it used to be, because before, it thought its goodness came from itself. Now it knows. Being protected is a grace, but seeking that protection, holding on to it by choice, that is the real journey. Sometimes we think we know ourselves just because we stay in the same place, the same streets, the same people, the same habits. We build a routine, and inside that routine we say, "This is who I am." But the truth is, without movement, you can't fully know yourself. Because where you stay, you are in many ways protected. Your weaknesses stay hidden. Nothing provokes your impatience, your anger, your fears. But the moment you step out, everything changes. When you find yourself in a place you don't know, when your plans fall apart, when control slips from your hands, that's when who you really are begins to show. I saw this very clearly in my own life. I thought I was patient, but I was only patient because my routine wasn't disturbed. I thought I was strong, but I was only strong in what I could control. The journey taught me this. Character is not who you are when you're comfortable. It's who you are when you're challenged. If you want to know yourself, you have to place yourself in different situations, because the ego hides very well in comfort. Without hunger, you won't know your gratitude. Without exhaustion, you won't know your patience. Without loneliness, you won't know what your heart truly holds on to. And I realized something else. A journey isn't always about changing cities. Sometimes it's leaving an environment. Sometimes it's walking away from certain people. Sometimes it's letting go of familiar ways of thinking. All of these are forms of movement. And when you move, it's not just your surroundings that change. The voices inside you change too. Thoughts you've never heard before begin to surface. Emotions you've buried start to speak. And that can be uncomfortable, because you come face to face with yourself. But it's also deeply valuable, because without that confrontation, there is no real transformation. Now I know this. If I truly want to know myself, I have to move. Not just physically, but internally. Because when you stay still, you tell yourself stories. But when you move, you start seeing the truth. I grew up in what I can now call a more protected, almost sterile environment. Right and wrong felt clearer. Boundaries felt more defined. Then life placed me somewhere completely different. I started working in a very different environment. And there, I met people I had never encountered before. Different worldviews, different lifestyles, different values. And honestly, at first it was hard. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt out of place, like I had been dropped somewhere I wasn't meant to be. But one question kept repeating in my mind. Why does God keep placing me in environments like this? What am I supposed to understand from this? And that's when I came face to face with a deeper truth. You can't truly know yourself without being placed in different conditions. And I had changed, not just externally but internally. Because in that environment I realized something. I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. That protected space I came from had been carrying me. I wasn't standing strong because of myself. I was being held up by my environment. And accepting that breaks something inside you. It broke something in me. I saw my weaknesses, my slips, my inner struggles, sides of me I never thought existed. But then I understood. This wasn't a fall, it was a revelation. Seeing your flaws. It's a mercy, because what you don't see, you can't fix. And through that process I realized my patience, my boundaries, my sense of integrity, they were never truly tested. And when they were, some parts of me felt fragile. But strangely, that fragility didn't destroy me. It brought me closer to myself. Because now I know this. Before I stayed pure, because I was in a pure environment. But now, I try to stay pure by choice, with awareness, by holding on. And that is completely different. Now I no longer ask, why do I keep encountering people like this? Instead I ask, how do I protect myself within these encounters? Who am I and what do I hold on to? Because the journey is not about seeing the world. It's about seeing the possibilities within yourself, even the darker ones. And I'm still on that journey. Still learning. Still struggling. Sometimes I fall again. Sometimes I feel weak again. But now I know none of this is meaningless. This is where my character is being built.